clearly that time of year again, because The Rock has returned to WWE and has seemingly shaken up quite a lot of WrestleMania plans. I'm Luco, and welcome to WrestleTalk. I'm today joined by SP3. Great to have you back on the channel, my friends.
It feels like I'm back home. Thanks for having me, Luke. I feel very, very welcome back into the WrestleTalk community.
And a very special guest is joining us today. He is a WrestleManiac, and you may have heard him on Rest Things and Gorilla Position. Everyone, this is Mex. Wonderful to have you on the show, my friend.
Thank you for giving me the call up, Luke. I'm very, very happy to be here. And of all episodes, he's just come and put a spanner in the works again, hasn't he?
So yes, we thought we would get together and talk about this Rock return promo. The announcement, like there was kind of sort of two trains of thought. People were like, is either going to shake up some plans for WrestleMania, or it's just going to be the announcement for WrestleMania 42. In the end, it kind of being both of them. We got the announcement that WrestleMania 42 is taking place in New Orleans next year. And then he called out Cody Rhodes. We're going to get into all of that. We're going to get into your Ultrachats as well. Before then, if you haven't already, please press subscribe, give us a like, drop a comment down below if you're watching this on demand with your thoughts on this episode of SmackDown, and in particular, this Rock angle with Cody Rhodes. And if you want your comments read out on the air, WrestleTalks.com/support is the link to click. It is in the video description down below, and it's being spammed by our moderating team as well. Big shout out to our moderators as well for taking the time out on their Saturdays, and to you guys as well. For you know, I can actually hear my child crying downstairs because my wife is going to take her out of the house to like go to the shop so I can have the house to myself for a bit, and I can hear that she does not want to go. So a big thank you to everyone who is joining me today. So yeah, let's get into this. So it kind of came out of the blue. The Rock was just announced he's going to be on SmackDown this week, and there was a lot of theories as to what this might be, and we got the segment. He came out and he announced that WrestleMania 42 is going to be in New Orleans next year. And then he called out Cody Rhodes. And then essentially had, because this was like 26 minutes in total, including all the entrances and stuff, quite a rambly promo. It's kind of sort of like, you know, I don't know. Does anyone know? Are they friends? Because I'm not sure if Rock mentioned that they're friends. They've got a really good friendship since last year's WrestleMania. But they talked about, you know, they've got a friendship now and they drink tequila together. Their mums are friends now. It's been a really good year for them. He genuinely meant what he said on the Raw Netflix debut, that I think you are this company's champion. You carried this company on your back for the last year. And then he sort of pivoted it around into being like, but, you know, I don't want you to just be the champion. I don't want to be their champion. I want you to be my champion. This idea that Rock is part of TKO, and he name dropped Ari Emanuel and Nick Khan and Paul Levesque and all these people. You know, we're like, I want you to be my WWE champion. And set up a deal. I want your answer at Elimination Chamber on March 1st. And he said, you know, I want that. Kind of like, oh, the WWE Championship. And he said, no. I want your soul. I'll see you on March 1st. Go home, talk to your wife about it. And I'll get some thoughts from you guys in a minute. But I kind of like got some broader thoughts about like why, because there seems to be a lot of negativity around this angle and this segment in this episode of SmackDown in total, which we'll dive into. But first off, Max, I'm going to come to you first. What did you make of the segment?
It was a bloody long segment, wasn't it? I think that's the first thing. Like, he's just going and going and going. And I was just like, okay, he's done the New Orleans thing that we all thought he was coming to do. And what's next? And of course, he called out Cody Rhodes and we got what we got. And it leaves things somewhat on a cliffhanger. I guess it makes Elimination Chamber a lot more like, okay, what's going to happen there, sort of thing, as well as, you know, the road to WrestleMania, which has been not as exciting as last year. All of a sudden, it feels like it's come alive again. Now, that might come at the demise at some other talent around the roster, but, you know, this is kind of, as fans, what we live for. Like, it's given us something to talk about on this afternoon. So, yeah, it was in some aspects a hell of a segment, but at the same time, just like a very long-winded segment to get to what we got.
SP3, what about yourself? What did you make of it?
I'm not as positive as Max is on this. I think this was the most utterly baffling segment that Triple H has ever produced as head creative. It was so confusing. I did not know what The Rock was talking about half the time. He said, "Be my champion," like 8 times. So I'm pretty sure he had too many cups of Terramana backstage before he came out here, and he just didn't remember his lines. He kept saying, "Be my champion, be my champion." Then he started caressing his face. So I thought I was watching like a romance going on. He started off the segment as a babyface. Then he went heel, said he was going to slap off STDs off of a fan's face. Then he went to, "Oh, we're friends. Me and Cody are friends," but we never saw that part of the story. Then he's showing pictures of Cody's mom and his mom together at WrestleMania. Then he's going to be my champion again. Then he's caressing his face. I was like, what was I? And I know you guys are from the UK. You guys know how you watch, SmackDown. You probably watch it the morning of. I have not learned that lesson yet. I'm back in the UK and I watched SmackDown live and I stayed up. Yes, I stayed up till 3 a.m. because I saw the lineup on Fightful Select. I was like, oh my God, he's not opening the show. I thought it was going to be very helpful. He could open the show. I could go to sleep right after that. No, he did it at 3 a.m. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to watch this segment and go to sleep. I could not go to sleep. My mind was just like, what did I just watch? Before this, it was one of the worst episodes of SmackDown that I think I've ever watched. And then it's this segment.
I think that's it for me, right? Because I full transparency, I watched this segment first before I watched anything else on SmackDown, because this was the thing I was really intrigued by, and I was like, let's see if we're going to do this show together. So I watched this segment first, so I didn't see the other 2 hours of what was quite a bad episode of SmackDown. I'm trying not to be a negative Nancy about this, but it was a bad episode of SmackDown. I did not have a good time when I was rewatching it, but I watched this segment first. So then when I went online, I was quite surprised to see kind of this negativity around the segment and the kind of confusion around the segment. And I wonder if that is kind of, sort of 3 parts to it. One of which is it did come at the 3rd hour of what was a bad episode of SmackDown. Number 2, it was quite a rambly, incoherent promo. And the 3rd part of that is that I think there is kind of within the much, hardcore fandom, it does feel like The Rock has shown up 6 weeks before WrestleMania and is shaking the plans up again. And now we're like pivoting and we're going to do a whole different thing just because The Rock is shown up and decided, I'm going to be part of WrestleMania this year. I've now got a storyline, book me. And was like, okay, let's change all the plans. So we'll focus everything around The Rock. So I wonder if it's kind of on those 3 things, because I text a few people about this and they were like, oh, what happened? And I said, The Rock wants Cody to be his corporate champion. And every response was like, that sounds awesome. That's a rad direction. That's so interesting. That's a really cool thing. So when you distill it down into just like what the segment was, yeah, it's cool. But when it's half an hour, then I think people are like, yeah, actually, no, I'm not all that much into this. But yeah, it's Max. What the negativity around it? Where do you think it stems from?
I think you hit the nail on the head. I think it's definitely The Rock coming back again. Like, we had the Bad Blood showing, we had the Netflix debut where basically everything was just torn apart from what we had thought it was going to be. And then now The Rock is coming back. And I would admit I was very negative. Friday morning, I woke up, I saw the headlines that The Rock's going to be on SmackDown. I was super negative. I was just like, this guy's coming to disrupt this again. Like, leave it alone. If it's coming to do the whole New Orleans spiel, cool, and then just please be gone. But here I am now, again, enjoying this little twist, although it, like I say, it was 30 minutes long. We got this little twist of what may be, and now we're have the opportunity to speculate. Is it a corporate champion? Is that what Cody's going to be? If not Cody, who? So yeah, it's I think The Rock he's maybe trying to fix what he done earlier this year. We just gotta shut up and buckle in for the ride he's gonna take us on, like he says.
Yeah, you no roll and shut your mouth and just enjoy what the final bosses are presenting to you. SP3, on that note, Mex brought this up earlier as well, and I think you might have said the same thing, is that I don't think the build for this year's WrestleMania has been all that exciting. I know we've still got some time, and Mex, I know you've said about this on Gorilla Position and things like that. We've still got a lot of time before we can get to WrestleMania, before we can say it is a bit of boring build, but it hasn't had the same oomph and atmosphere that last year's WrestleMania did and the chaos that last year's WrestleMania did. But do you think that this is going to actually really shake things up? Or is this going to be something that doesn't really affect this year's WrestleMania? It could be something down the line. What do you think, SP3?
I think it should have some influence on what Cody's going to do at WrestleMania 41. You don't spend this much time and devote this much energy into something and not have it affect this coming WrestleMania. I think that it will be something that can follow up on at WrestleMania 42, but it has to have some type of input, some type of effect on what Cody's going to do at this year's WrestleMania. And I'll be honest with you guys, I think I'm still waiting on the road to WrestleMania to begin. I feel like I just recently started watching Traders UK season 3. I feel like all the contestants on the train waiting for the train to pick us up, but the train still hasn't came. And it was literally supposed to be here February 1st after the Royal Rumble, but it still hasn't really started. Like the best thing that they got going on towards WrestleMania is Jay and Gunther, where they had 3 really good segments to build up their matchup. But you're also asking the question, do you really have 2 months of material for Jay versus Gunther? Is Charlotte and Tiffy actually started yet? Have they figured out if Tiffany Stratton is a babyfacer yet? Because last night on the show, a referee saved her from 2 heels. So that's not my type of babyface. I don't know about y'all, but it just feels like WrestleMania really hasn't started. They've touched on some things. You did the Cody and CM Punk segment before the Royal Rumble. You have John Cena and his quest for number 17. You got Roman, Seth, and Punk, what they did at the Royal Rumble, but it really hasn't felt like the road to WrestleMania really started. At least this segment did something to get people maybe looking forward to WrestleMania or thinking about the options here. But I think that, yeah, I think Mex is on the right point. I think that this is going to lead to somebody becoming The Rock's corporate champion.
So yeah, that's going to be my next question, and this is going to be kind of like I think a shorter one to answer. Do you think, or would you like to see Cody turn heel? Because that's kind of what we're setting up here, right? It's like, is this going to be the heel turn for Cody Rhodes? Get rid of the bleach blonde hair, bring back the dark-haired Cody Rhodes, and we get corporate Cody. Mex, do you want to see heel Cody Rhodes at this point?
Do I want to see heel Cody Rhodes? Yes. Will it be him that turns? No. I think he is printing money for the WWE right now. So yeah, you wouldn't disturb that. But this could be like a nice welcome addition to his character arc, you know, going up against whoever that person is going to be.
SP3, what about you?
I love heel Cody. Cody in 2018 was the best version of Cody ever, in my opinion, even more than this American Nightmare. But yeah, Mex is right. Not right now. I think that the better option is either John Cena or CM Punk turning heel and becoming The Rock's corporate champion.
Punk's my pick for this, because if I'm kind of putting my fantasy booking head on now, I'm going to pull the train into speculation station, because SP3 is waiting for the train with the rest of the traders. Like he's stuck on a platform. But I'll pull into speculation station of what I've been thinking about it a lot today, of like what directions you could go in. And one possibility I was thinking of was, Cody says no at Elimination Chamber. He comes out and he says, no, I'm not going to sell my soul. Punk wins the chamber. And then it basically becomes Rock trying to convince Punk to be his guy. Or you don't even do any of that. But at WrestleMania, maybe The Rock interferes, and you can kind of do the Punk heel turn from Raw 1000 again, where Punk is conflicted on the direction. It's like, do I actually want to do this? Because like I've recently rewatched Raw 1000, because here's a cheap plug for you. Is a review of it on Patreon tomorrow. Patreon.com/WrestleTalk. Our review of that goes live at 1 p.m. tomorrow. And our review of WrestleMania 28 goes live here on WrestleTalk. So in that moment, he is just looking at Big Show beating up John Cena, and like he's conflicted. Do I take advantage of this situation? You can play that again, which is quite nice, because the heel turn he did at Raw 1000 was against The Rock. So it kind of brings it all back full circle. But I know, because I'm looking at the chat as well, everyone's picking Cena as the guy. I don't think I want to turn Cena heel, although I like what he said at the Rumble presser, where he said, I think it is best for business that I'm in the main event of WrestleMania. And again, you want to talk about full circle, Rock and Cena. I kind of dig that idea as well. But all right, here's the next question. For his final year, do you think we're going to get heel corporate Cena next? Come on, because I can't see it. I can't see heel turn Cena for this year.
You can't
make
see
a good
it.
point. You make a good point because this is the year where he should be honored and held in such high regard by the fans and almost remembered for all this good stuff he's done. But at the same time comes that there's already a date on when he's retiring by the end of this year, right? Like the desperation, the urgency, like he has to kind of maybe fail. Well, he's already failed in the Royal Rumble. Maybe he continues and fails in the Elimination Chamber, and it takes The Rock convincing him. Maybe we don't see it on screen, and then Cena maybe wins Money in the Bank, and we get there somehow. And him, like you said, the history between him and The Rock almost kind of passing the torch in that sense. They had their 2 matches, and him almost following The Rock's footsteps into Hollywood and all of that kind of stuff. The Rock can use his social influence, like he says, raise his profile and stuff. Like, I just feel like it doesn't even have to be like a hard heel turn, but just like he's joined them. He's become one of them.
Yeah.
And just something really subtle, which gives John Cena a much needed change in his character as well. I think that's what I want personally.
Because I did, I fantasy booked, I think it was on the last Raw episode, the Ollie and I did with the review. I fantasy booked there. I like this idea that Cena hasn't won a match in forever. Like he keeps, like, in that promo he's on episode, I want a match in like 3 years. Like I feel like I should earn this. And he doesn't win the Royal Rumble, so he says in the press conference, I know I didn't win, but I should be in the main event. This is my final year. It's best for business that I'm in the main event of WrestleMania. So then he doesn't win the chamber as well. So then it becomes Cena politicking his way into the main event of WrestleMania, and you could do Cody, Punk, and Cena as the triple threats. A lot of multi-man matches by the looks of things for this year's WrestleMania. So I kind of like that. And if you involve The Rock into that as well, of just then there's 2 guys, it could be Punk or it could be Cena to be the corporate champion against Cody Rhodes. Because if you have this deal that Cena hasn't won in 3 years, and then he wins the WWE Championship and breaks the record. But as I say that, I want it to be a nice moment. Like I want it to be, it's the 17th title win. It should be a nice moment, as opposed to it being WrestleMania X7 and Cena shakes hands with the devil himself in The Rock. SB3, where are you sat with this?
Oh, I want this John Cena heel turn. The more y'all talk about it, the more I want it. Hollywood 2-man power trip of John Cena and The Rock. Oh my God, that's printing money. What's the bigger deal? Like, I know to us as wrestling fans, CM Punk turning heel is something that we've pretty much wanted since he came back in AEW. But what's the bigger deal for WWE? What's going to get the most headlines? The 2 of the biggest stars in Hollywood taking over professional wrestling, coming to WWE, beating the champion, and ending the show on top. 12 years after they closed WrestleMania 29, they closed WrestleMania 41 in Las Vegas. That just writes itself. That's a no-brainer. And it doesn't have to be a long-term thing. You could do a John Cena arc of him as a heel with The Rock until like SummerSlam. And then he loses the title at SummerSlam and then turns back babyface. So you check out all the boxes for this final year, because pretty much John Cena being the popular babyface, I'm bored. I'm bored already. I was just like, oh, Cena's going to verse this person and that person. All people want to say is the dream matches. I want to see John Cena give us one last great story, and I think that would be it.
I mean, the more I'm talking about it, the more I am talking myself into wanting to see this. Because then I was just like, hey, yeah, that's it. Yeah, believe me. Because I was like, man, at Survivor Series, you could do Team WWE versus Team Hollywood. And it's a 5-on-5 elimination match for the control of WWE. Is that with the Rock and John Cena and a bunch of other baddies versus CM Punk and Drew McIntyre and like all these Roman Reigns. Because I see Roman, where does Roman factor into all of this? Because Rock's promo, he said, I've always wanted a brother. And he picked last year, I'm picking Roman to be my guy. He acknowledged Roman Reigns. He joined the bloodline and he wanted to help Roman win at WrestleMania to continue that. But now here's The Rock on TV saying, hey, like, I actually need a brother. I want you to be my champion as opposed to be someone like Roman Reigns. Maybe if you do turn Cody heel and that's your WrestleMania program for like next year's Mania, and it's heel Cody versus babyface Roman for the title, and it's flipping that dynamic. So I totally get why there is negativity around this segment, and The Rock coming back, and we'll get into like the reports that have come out about this as well. But genuinely, I think this has added a lot of interest into this year's wrestling. And Mex, you said earlier, into Elimination Chamber. And I was kind of stoked for Chamber anyway, because it's a star-studded chamber, certainly on the men's side of things. But now I kind of want to see the next step of this. And surely that's what you want from a pro wrestling angle, right? Is to make you want to see the next step.
Yeah, they gave us a cliffhanger, and like we're saying, on a show that wasn't really special, wasn't really memorable. As long as this segment was, we got a cliffhanger. We have something to now look forward to next Saturday night when we're watching Elimination Chamber, and how that's going to play out for the rest of the WrestleMania season. The Rock chose his words very well. If you remember back to the 6th of January, when he done that whole meandering promo, and he actually said to Cody then, "Thank you, brother." And you mentioned he mentioned now that that he wants a brother, and right after he said that, I feel like he was very specific in saying Roman Reigns my cousin. Like, all of these people they're not enough. They're not of that status yet. But you, Cody, you could be that guy. You could be my brother. You could be my champion. But yeah, I think it's just added just a little bit of what was needed to kind of wake up the fan base going into WrestleMania for sure.
So yeah, let's look at the report side of this as well, because this is, by all accounts, a very last minute thing that has come together on this. Rock on the press conference as well did say this might not lead to a match. He said this is going to be a very unique story in wrestling. It was like a purely like kayfabe is dead type deal, where he was like, I am a character called The Rock, who is the final boss, and this may not lead to a match between Rock and Cody. It doesn't have to. We're going to go in a very cool and unique direction on this. So I kind of dig that aspect of it, but also it adds this level of confusion to what I think people are saying is the confusing elements around this angle. Because Fightful Select had their report. Apologies, I've got to look off screen, but actually it looks like I'm looking at you two as I'm reading it on my other monitor. But the Rock basically was there like a few days before SmackDown. I'm going to be on there, and creative were told we need to change SmackDown because The Rock's going to be doing this. So there was a lot of elements would change. There was meant to be a 6-man, ended up being a tag team match. They advertised Liv and Naomi, and then that didn't happen. Then it did happen, but then it didn't actually happen because the match got thrown out. But Sean Ross Sapp writes here on Fightful Select, as far as future plans, we're still working on how this affects things. Cody versus John Cena had been in the plans since late last year. Roman Reigns versus CM Punk, and later Reigns, Punk, and Rollins had been planned at various points. Back in October, WWE Creative were preparing stories as if The Rock would not be available for WrestleMania. That continued all the way up until this week. At one point, a top talent made a joke that WrestleMania was, quote, at the mercy of Dwayne, as he's mentioned on Fightful post shows before. So let's talk about that aspect of it then, which is kind of the more, not the on-screen stuff, it's the behind-the-scenes elements of this. And SP3, I'll come to you first on this one, which is it's The Rock coming in late in the day and is seemingly just like, let's scrap everything, do this instead. What do you make of it?
I mean, this is really showing who has the most power and influence in WWE right now. It's not Triple H. It's The Rock. It's The Rock is on the board of directors, a part of TKO. He even called himself in the promo, I'm the director of the board of directors. So I'm the head of this whole thing. So I have the most influence. And yeah, it could be a passing line in a promo, but I think a lot of truth is said in it from how everything has played out. So The Rock coming in last year and trying to ruin WrestleMania plans gave us one of the best builds to WrestleMania ever. And it seems like builds to WrestleMania are at its best when someone either leaves or comes back. Because I thought that 40 was the best build to WrestleMania since Punk left ahead of WrestleMania 30. And now we're getting Rock coming in and ruin the plans, not once, but twice, because he ruined the plans January 6th on the Netflix premiere, because you had a whole direction of Rock can come in, he could face either Roman, he could face Cody, he could face him in a triple threat, and he said, no, I'm friends with him, I'm gonna big brother Cody, hey little guy, good to see you, come have some Terramana with me, I'm gonna give the necklace to the Roman, oh I can just leave. And then he heard all the people online and he was like, let me show up on NXT and be like, hey, you guys, stop listening to the dirt sheet, stop listening, I know what I'm doing here. And no, you don't, because it's quite obvious from last time. You don't know what you're doing here. This was not the original plan, but I think that it does add a very much a level of intrigue that wasn't here for WrestleMania. So for better or worse, regardless of how I felt about the segment, Rock being here is a benefit to WWE.
What do you make of it, Max? Because the report coming out of Bad Blood when Rock showed up last time and did their hand signal was that, oh, that actually meant nothing, because it didn't actually have a follow-up planned for it. They just wanted to get, like, the Rock just said, oh, I could be there. And they were like, oh, cool. Yeah, all right. Let's put you on the show to remind people that you're still here. So where do you stand on all of this?
Yeah, like I said, Friday morning when I woke up and I saw the posts about him being on SmackDown later on in the day, I wasn't happy. I had said, like, December times going into that Netflix debut, I had said, let his appearance on the Netflix debut be the, you know, I'm going to be there or I'm not. I'm ruling yourself out, one or the other. And we hated the way he ultimately ruled himself out, but he ruled himself out. And I said, cool, fine. There is a roster full of talented men and women. Let's book who we have towards Mania, with obviously the likes of probably a Becky Lynch, probably maybe to come back in. And he just went and thrown the book out the window, and he's turned up again. And ultimately, yes, it was for the announcement, but he has definitely put a spanner in the works. Has it made it more exciting? Yes, I would admit that. But I just don't feel like it's very productive for, you know, to continue doing this to make a show. And a lot of talent, you know, whether they are still going to be on Mania or not, you know, we saw some people got their match scrapped on the night on SmackDown. Like, it's going to disrupt people that are there long term, just for you just keep coming and, you know, inserting yourself. I just don't know if it's how a director should be acting, and like I say, if it's good for the writing of the show long term.
I totally get what you mean there, because again, cheap plug, the review for WrestleMania 28 that was going out tomorrow live on here on WrestleTalk at 1 p.m. tomorrow. We talked there about, like, that was when WWE shifted into this part-timer Mania thing, which is like, you know, WrestleMania 28 is really built around 4 guys, and those 4 guys are John Cena, The Undertaker, Triple H, and The Rock. And 3 of those guys were not there 2 weeks after. You know, it's like, and all these other guys are just sort of like shoved to the wayside. And then we watched, you know, Raw 1000, and that show is just about, like, here's all the stars from yesteryear beating up all of the current day talents, and then all those stars of yesteryear don't show up again, and you're just left with a bunch of losers. You just left with a bunch of lads that don't feel important. I'm not saying that is what we're going to be looking at here, but to your point, Max, if you do continue to be like from May until December, it doesn't really matter, because come January, The Rock might show up and the whole focus will be around him again. And we'll just have to so none of these guys really matter. Ultimately, what matters is The Rock is the guy. SB3, lastly on you before we, I want to get into some fancy booking speculation. Do you agree with Max on that one?
I agree to a point, but then I don't agree. Because I'll be honest with you, I think ever since SummerSlam, Triple H's booking has sucked. It's been really bad. Like, I don't think he's booked any of the champions very well. Gunther's been booked like a mid-card champion. Braun Breaker's been thrown by the wayside, doesn't even feature sometimes. They created 2 more titles for an act that was already entertaining, and you didn't really add much by giving her the title, and another act that you barely even give TV time and even pay attention to. Shinsuke Nakamura is U.S. champion. I don't even need to say anything about that. And Tiffany Stratton, you're still trying to figure out if she's heel or babyface. Rhea Ripley, the second reign, it seems like they don't even know what they're doing here. So, like, Triple H's booking has been very bad, and his form of long-term storytelling is telling the same story beat over and over and over and over again. Case in point, the Judgment Day. So I think that he needs someone to throw a spanner in the works. He needed someone to kind of be like, hey, I'm going to inject some incitement. I'm going to inject some intrigue. I'm going to get the fans talking about different possibilities, different options, because a lot of the options that we had for WrestleMania wasn't exciting a lot of people. And that's why it felt like the road to WrestleMania hadn't begun yet. But now that The Rock's here, it kind of feels like I see the train. It's coming. It's coming. It's starting.
Listen, I'm not going to say that I completely disagree with you. I don't think that his booking sucks. I don't think it has been particularly great. I think that Triple H books, for the most part, broadly fine shows, but I think there are always these little flashes of brilliance within there. I think particularly in the men's division, I think that the road to this year's Rumble, I thought was superb.
Yeah.
Having said that, I'm just sort of looking at the chat here. Facts. Thank you. Facts. Yep. So I mean, there's a lot of people that agree with you on this one, even though I
know I understand what you're saying. It's broadly fine. It's better than Vince McMahon, but I'm sorry, we were using that in 2022. We were using that in 2023. And Luke, you yourself came up with the best hot take on WrestleTalk content when you said 2025 was the last great year of Triple H's booking. I went one step further and I said 2024 might have been his last great year of booking. And the first 2 months of this year, I don't know.
So if anyone who didn't see that video, my rationale for that is that there's always this theory in pro wrestling, which is that a head booker has 5 years. And they have a good, like every booker has a good first 5 years. And then that's when they start to run out of road. And this would have marked kind of towards the end of hit that run. So I was like, maybe this is the last great year. And then that's when you get into year 5 and beyond, and you might start to run out of road. But I don't know. I'm hoping that he proves me wrong on that one. So it's now time. Before we get into the Ultra Chats, let's get some fancy booking. Max, get me. What have you got? What do you think? What are your big theories for Chamber and beyond?
I don't know if it's too soon for like the Cody to reject The Rock, and then ultimately The Rock helps somebody in that chamber win the match and become the #1 contender. I don't know if it's too soon, but like I said, John Cena is my pick. And again, it might be too soon to do it at WrestleMania, and then you get the boos at Mania because Cena's been helped. And like you mentioned, WrestleMania 17, maybe you don't want that. Maybe you just want to play it out a bit later on down the line. But either way, John Cena is my pick to be that corporate champion. Add some flavor to this man in this last year. We've been asking for an adjustment in character and a heel turn, whatever you want to call it, for the last 10 to 15 years of his 25-year career. Like, we've needed this. So just sprinkle a bit of something on him. Let's get a bit of change in character. Like SP3 rightly said, he doesn't even have to last the entire retirement tour. I think that's a great point. This could just be a stint to get into number 17, which would be intriguing. And then if he loses that title back to Cody, which Cody dethroning John Cena and ultimately The Rock would be massive for Cody again. That will revive his character somewhat, and then John Cena can go off into the sunset pretty nicely. Really well done last year. That's ultimately what I want from all of this now.
SP3, hit me. What have you got? Big fantasy booking.
So I've been doing it in my head as you said this. Elimination Chamber. So you can do early in the show the Rock and Cody segment. Cody turns him down. Then backstage, you could do like a Roman Reigns is talking to Paul Heyman. Roman Reigns is here. Oh, they know Roman Reigns is here. Is he going to get involved in the Elimination Chamber? And then we go backstage again and we see The Rock knocking on Roman Reigns' door. Then later on in the show, Roman Reigns comes into the Elimination Chamber, spears Seth Rollins, getting revenge for the Royal Rumble. Paul Heyman's like, oh, yes, that's what I wanted you to do. And then he turns around and spears CM Punk as well. Heyman's like, what the? It was supposed to be the favor. It was supposed to be Roman helping Punk in the chamber, but he takes out both Punk and Seth. Cena wins. And then you do the slow burn of Rock trying to manipulate Cena, trying to say, hey, you should be my champion. I can help you get number 17. But Cena's like, I never give up. I'm never going to give in. I've fighted. I've rised above hate all these years. And then at WrestleMania, He gives in. He becomes the corporate champion. All's good. You got your triple threat match with Roman, Punk, and Seth. You got Cena and Rock ending the show as this Hollywood power trip. But I think it's not Roman Reigns that dethrones John Cena. I mean, it's not Roman Reigns. It's not Cody Rhodes that dethrones John Cena. I think it's Jacob Fatu. Make the new star by beating the greatest champion of all time.
It's not a bad shout. Yeah, I kind of like that actually. I think using this because I was basically going like, oh, Punk, because I kind of think we need to get to that point at somewhere down the line. But yeah, maybe we do use this to elevate someone new. Yeah. Okay.
I like Punk as a shout for this position as well. It's also because he would have mentioned, what was it, just before Rumble, he mentioned to Cody Rhodes that I can see like you're falling apart, 300 days holding a title. He does this to a man sort of thing. So it's almost like if he now has the help from above, when he gets to maybe that 300-day point, he's got the support. He can negotiate that better with his experience of having that long title reign he had before he left the first time. So he's also a shoe-in, and of course the Paul Heyman favor makes sense.
Yeah, we still do need to get to that Heyman favor and find out what that was. I'm still curious on that one. So let's see. I mean, for all we know, because The Rock's back now, we'll never find out what that favor was.
They scrapped it.
It might come at the next big unsolved mystery. Who threw the pie at Kevin Owens? What was the CM Punk's favor? And actually, on that note, Geek of Arabia here says in our Ultrachats, and he quotes CM Punk just before the Rumble, I was champion for 334 historic days way back when, and somewhere at the 300-day mark, it started to weigh on me. I started to get burned out, and frankly, it turned me into someone I didn't enjoy being most days. What I loved about that promo is actually at the Rumble, when it came up with the stats and little Chiron details, it said, Cody Rhodes has been champion for 300 days. I was like, that's exactly the day that Punk said in his promo. I thought it was so good, and I think it could be really interesting heading into it. Josh here said, this was easily one of the worst episodes of WWE in the Triple H era, contributing to an all-time worst WrestleMania build. I think the honeymoon period for Trips is over. The Rock is going to ruin the main event again. Do you know what? I don't want to be the let it play out guy, because I think that is a bit of a sort of a poison chalice term. But on this occasion, I think I might say I am willing to let this one play out. King Burbs here in relation to the Rock's post-show press conference. I get it's a story. Sorry, I get it. Story sells, but the reason it sells is because people are buying and eager to see the match, to be elevated by a good story. Example, Austin versus Vince. People want to see the heel get their ass kicked. So, okay, let's address that. Because, The Rock did say at the post-show press conference, this may not lead to a match. It doesn't need to lead to a match. Mex, do you think that he is right, or do you think that this is wrestling? It sort of has to lead to a match.
I don't think it does. Not the way he's framed it at this point, and he said that to the world. So I think he's very much, told us, like you said, I'm the director, I'm on the TKO board and stuff like that, and ultimately I choose you, be my champion. So if he doesn't get Cody, he chooses somebody else, and I don't have to be involved or anything like that. It's almost like authority-esque, 2015, and they had Seth Rollins doing their bidding with the J&J security by his side. It's something like that. So I'm in agreement that it doesn't need to lead to a match at this point.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because even with the authority, they picked Rollins. In the end, that did lead to Rollins versus Triple H at WrestleMania. So it built to a match. So I think it is quite an interesting idea that he's presenting here, that this is a wrestling storyline that may not build to a match in wrestling. I find it sort of like a sort of weird proposition. SP3, what do you make of it?
When Rock said that, I was like, Rock, this is wrestling. This is not a movie. That you just explained what a movie is. When you have a conflict between two people that doesn't lead to a match, tell the story, that's a movie. That's not a wrestling match. Wrestling match, the story culminates in the ring. So I think that kind of Rock was saying that flippantly, kind of braggadocious, the story's so good, we don't even need a match. But I think we all know that eventually Rock is going to get back into the ring. Is it going to be against Cody? Is it going to be against Roman? That we don't know. But The Rock will be back in the ring. The Rock will culminate whatever story he's doing with a match.
12 Facile DM here said, after sleeping on it, I did kind of like it. It leaves a lot of ways it can go. Personally, I hope they go with either Cody turning heel and creating another Austin and McMahon moment, or Cody says no, but Cena says yes, creating the crazy heel duo. On that, I'm just going to quickly bring this one up. The WrestleMania X7 turn is regarded as one of the biggest business blunders that WWE have ever made, because Austin was the top guy and they turned him heel, and in doing so, ticket sales went down, merch went down, and it was this kind of slow decline across 2001. And even when Austin turned back heel shortly at November going into December 01, he did not feel as special as he did when he came back in November 2000. And it is, Austin has talked about it on multiple interviews and multiple podcasts and said, like, I actually, in hindsight, we shouldn't have done it, but we did think it was the right move at the time. I actually found Meltzer right about, he interviewed John Cena just before WrestleMania X7 and the reports that Austin was going to turn heel. And Cena had said in those interviews, I don't think it's a good idea because I think you should stay a babyface. And Cena has always said, I want to stay a babyface. But are we in a new era now where you don't, like, WWE is so like massive and monolithic that maybe they can take this sort of risk? Like, Mex, do you think that they're in a bit where they don't have to worry about the backlash that they got with X7?
I think the risk here has already been accounted for. Hence why we're already saying it's not going to be Cody, because right now, by everything you just mentioned, Luke, that's the cash cow. Cody is the one that has the people and the power and the merch and does the radio shows and everything. Like, it isn't John Cena so much, or CM Punk or Roman Reigns, although obviously these are the other big players in WWE. So it's almost like we'll leave our good guy and our cash cow to still be that figure. So, you know, a la 2001, what was it? We're not going to turn Austin, and we'll use somebody else to kind of use that role and turn them and, you know, get him to play with the corporation, if you like. So I think they've accounted for that happening again.
But do you not think that's the same deal for Cena, though? You know, he is, like, you know, one of their, like, mainstream guys.
He is. I agree with that. But I think at the same time, people have been asking for this. And like I said, we can do it like just on the line. It doesn't have to be a full-on blown heel turn. He's moving absolutely crazy. And again, to SP3's point, he turns back later on during the year and, you know, has that last couple of months of massive crowd swell and stuff. I think we could play it a lot smarter now, like, than obviously what they did back in the day.
Yeah, I mean, SP3, I will ask you that as well. But, you know, James has just said here in the chat, it's not in 2025. Cena's not that guy in 2025 anymore. So maybe that is where you can do the risk.
Yeah, because you have Cody, you have Punk, you got Jey Uso, you got Randy Orton, who still hasn't come back. You have all these top baby faces right now. Cena turning heel is not really Austin turning heel in 2001. It would basically be the equivalent of Hulk Hogan not going to WCW, just retiring after WrestleMania 8 or something, and then coming back in 2001, turning heel and aligning with Vince McMahon. That's the equivalent of what this would be. This is more akin to that than Austin turning heel. Austin turning heel is Cody or Roman. I feel like Roman is still the number one guy from how he's presented, how they treat him and stuff like that, but he's not full-time. So you would have Cody there as the full-time number one star. That would be Cody turning heel, is Austin turning heel. So I think that it's a different dynamic, and it creates this heel force for the baby faces that they've built up, which they got like 10 deep. I didn't even mention Seth Rollins and all these other guys. Like, they're 10 deep on baby faces where they could present to fight back against Rock and Cena.
I think you're right, actually. And I hadn't actually considered that until we started talking about it then, but it is a baby face heavy promotion right now. Like, I you know, is Drew McIntyre the company's top heel? Because it's not. It's probably not Gunther, is it? Like, is it the world? I think Drew's probably the top heel because Roman's a baby.
Drew or Owens?
Oh yeah, Kevin Owens, I suppose. Yeah, it's probably one of those two, right? But I think they're the only two.
Yeah,
probably.
They're like really. really like main event, and given that time, yeah, it's Drew, it's Kevin Owens, and then less like a one tier down, it's then Gunther and Solo and Jacob Fatu's on the rise to that upper level.
Real Double J here said, feels like someone swapped out Rock's copy of Casino the other night for Call Me By Your Name. Thank God it wasn't Silence of the Lambs. Maybe Rock wanted to show his range. Maybe he can be good, he can be bad, a fighter, a lover. Sadly, this was hashtag not pure cinema. Mayor of Painesville Dan says, hello Luke, hello Mex, hello SP3, awesome to have you here, hope you are doing well. This episode of SmackDown was wild. Of course, the Mania that I'm going to attend live is somewhat of a mess when it comes to plans. First, no Hall of Fame clarity, now this. Oh, yeah, I suppose we do have because they're looking for a location now for Hall of Fame, because they don't want to do it just like after the SmackDown taping, which I think is probably a good thing, because I think, now that Triple H is going in, they want to make sure that it looks good. Evan Reich here says, Rock's back. Looks like Punk's going to have to settle for the co-main event again. Good old WWE diversity at its finest. Keep up the good work, lads. Good to see SP3 back on the channel. Yeah, like if it's... So, okay, let's say, I'm trying to think, I don't want to go, we haven't got time. I was about to say, let's fantasy book all of WrestleMania, but like, what's Seth Rollins going to do? But yeah, like, I'm not sure we've got time to go into all of that. But I will, like, what do you think for, Mex, what do you think for like someone like a Rollins or a Reigns in all of this?
I'm not a fan of the triple threat. I'm a fan of the three names involved, like whether it's going to be Punk versus Reigns or Reigns versus Rollins or Rollins versus Punk. I'm involved. I like the singles match aspect of these guys, but a triple threat just to kind of get them all involved, I'm not a fan of. But I liked SP3's idea of, Roman just coming into the chamber, causing chaos, putting spears on both of those guys to help us get to that WrestleMania match between the three of them. I think that's probably where we land at this point.
We'll continue on here. William says, I didn't realize when Rock said he was the final boss, he meant of Mortal Kombat. Yeah, there's a lot of people making the Mortal Kombat thing because he wants his soul, like Shang Tsung in the movie. Because I want your soul. Weasley here said, the vibe I got was Rock knows he isn't working Mania 41. This is Rocky trying to do his own plan B. And we're going to see if Cody has more morals than Seth did when he was in the same position, or if the blonde has infected him to be best for business. Ket here says, The Rock is no different from Vince in terms of creative teams being forced to change their original plans to cater to him. I've always had sour feelings towards the guy since 2013 with him beating Punk. The guy's ego is unmatched. Yeah, there's been quite a lot of like negative sentiment towards The Rock. Like I think the build last year notwithstanding, so I think people really got into the final boss character. But yeah, what do you make, Max, of like the general vibe towards The Rock? And do you think that kind of does it hinder or does it help?
I think it definitely hinders at times. Like he can come and do something and bring the show to life like he did this past evening, but I feel like in general people are beginning to grow tired, and even myself, I'm someone that pops every time The Rock pops up and stuff, until, like I said, these last couple appearances I've just been like, maybe he is as self-indulgent as everyone says he is. Like, and now I'm coming of age, and I can see it, sort of thing. Like I said already, I didn't want this appearance, but here we are. But yeah, I can understand where people are coming from and just thinking enough is enough now.
What about you, SP3? What do you make of like the fan reception to The Rock, and sort of like, particularly when I'm talking about fans, I'm talking about like the online fans as well, because I think there is very much a difference between the online fans and those who are usually in the buildings for the shows.
Yeah, the people in the building see The Rock. I think that the people online see Dwayne and what he's doing and what he's doing behind the scenes. And they just think that this whole show that he puts on is a little bit put on. And I would say, like, I agree with Mex, like the Netflix premiere appearance and this appearance, The Rock is not like every time out, home run, have the crowd in the palm of his hand. He's not like the streak that he had ahead of WrestleMania 40 is probably the last of his powers. Maybe it's feeling like that ever since the Raw on Netflix premiere. It felt like week after week he was hitting home runs on the way to WrestleMania. In Utah, talking about Mormons having 8 wives, and in Phoenix talking about crackhead babies and stuff like that. He was on a roll, and then he drops the line of the STD, and I'm just like, who are you? Like you just did. You just start trying to do sing along with The Rock. Then you're telling him not to sing along with you. It doesn't seem like he knows what the character is right now. So I think that's why it's off with the online community.
I agree with that, because I think that was a sentiment I did see on like Twitter and Reddit and things like that, was this idea that he was babyface, he was babyface and heel in the segment and was like flicking between the two. There's actually a YouTube comment on the WWE video. It's just like, I think he's broken Big Show's record for face heel turns in one segment. Raphael here said, I've now had 24 hours to process this. I'm still confused. I feel like Rock has spent too much time at Disney and has somehow become the combo of Ursula and The Undertaker. Last we saw him, he was a face. Now he's a tweener. Stop, quote, playing the hits. I would actually agree with you on the point you made, SP3. I thought the STD line was like, come on, you're better than that, mate. Like you got better material than this, surely. The Derbies of Derps. The Derbies of Derps here said, I'm sorry, but this Rock segment just reeks to me of him throwing himself into main events for his ego. I think he's just going to be the corporate champ himself, and we're going to do Cody, Roman, Rock, because Rock wants to finally face Roman and is sick of waiting. I don't think The Rock's at this year's Mania. So, yeah, okay, there you go. Do you think The Rock's wrestling at this year's WrestleMania? Because for me, I don't think he is. Max?
No, I don't think he is. I mean, I was literally just going to ask you as that question came up. I guess we haven't considered, if Cody says no, The Rock just lacing up his boots and saying, well, I need to beat you to be this champion for myself then. Like do you guys think, do you guys think that could happen as an option?
Just turns around and puts, fine, I'll do it myself.
Yeah. Like...
I mean, WWE, they do everything on purpose. They say, you need to watch everything. Last night on SmackDown, they did highlights of John Cena in the Elimination Chamber. They didn't choose the first one he won at New Year's Revolution 2006. They specifically chose the one from 2010 where he wins the WWE Championship, and then Batista immediately cashes in without having the Money in the Bank and beats him after. What if The Rock lets John Cena win, and then after the match we get Rock Cena 3 and he just beats him, and he gets the WrestleMania?
Oh man,
I'll be livid.
I was gonna say, yeah,
I would love it. I love chaos. I love chaos.
I mean, really, like them not showing New Year's Revolution is just more Chris Masters removal from WWE. It's just more like scrubbing of Chris Masters from the history books. For shame as well. And lastly, for now, King Burb says, did The Rock after Mania not say he's coming for Cody? Then the Bad Blood 1, 2, 3. If there isn't a match in the cards, wouldn't it devalue a lot of these moments? Don't forget, Rock has a pin victory over Cody at Mania Night 1. Seems like a kind of to me. Yeah, I think that's what we're sort of looking at, what we kind of talked about with that 5 for Report, and when we talked about a lot on this show, which is that a lot of this is kind of flying by the seat of their pants. But sometimes when they are flying by the seat of their pants, like they were with last year's Mania, it leads to a lot of really captivating TV. And like, honestly, you said it earlier, SP3, but like last year's Mania, I thought was such an awesome build. And Max, I know that you and like James Deal talked about this a lot on Gorilla Position, this idea of just like, you guys keep referring back to last year's Mania, the excitement of that. I think like with The Rock coming back these times, it just does create this kind of chaos. And it leads to moments like this where the three of us sit down and we go into speculation and Mania. And we're like, it could lead to this, it could lead to this, it could lead to this. And, 72 hours ago, I don't think we were having these conversations. What we were having was not really feeling the triple threat for Rollins, Reigns, and Punk. Sort of liking Cody and Cena, you could go in these directions. Now, we're kind of looking at 12 different directions you can go to. And for me personally as a fan, like I find that really, really exciting. So we'll wrap this up. Mod Jenna, if you can, please. There's a lovely long message here from Hannah Allen, but can we save that for the AEW Dynamite podcast that we do? Because it is about her going to Grand Slam. So I'd really like to read that on that show if we can do. And actually, just as we sort of, let's wrap things up. Should we have a poll? Mod Mother Jenna, let's have a poll. Was this good or bad? I just want to like, did you like this? Yes or no? Let's make it a binary choice, yes or no, and we'll have a quick vote on that in the poll before we get out of here. Defects also here says, what if they have McIntyre be the corporate champion after all these losses over months? Rock appeals to him, and it's revealed after Mania on SmackDown. Maybe after he loses to Priest, then can have him get out of the King of the Ring tournament or Money in the Bank by The Rock. Yeah, I mean, okay, let's ask that. Drew was corporate champion, Max?
McIntyre is someone I thought of because it was baffling to me. Like, why did he lose to Jimmy on SmackDown? Why is he getting pinned so often and he's about to go into the chamber? I thought, yeah, that's a bit baffling. And if we remember, we had that whole segment of when McIntyre, well, it wasn't on TV, but it was on digital, when McIntyre signed his contract and got a sword from The Rock. So I thought, he could be someone that they use to kind of prop back up and be used as this corporate champion. Potentially.
What about you, SP3?
I mean, it could be a coincidence. It could not. Drew did tweet out after the Rock segment. He says there's no escaping the bloodline vortex. So maybe Drew is just stuck in there. And yeah, I think that the whole booking of Drew has been very baffling. And it just tells me that Triple H said, hey, Roman, you want to work with Drew at WrestleMania? And he said, no, I'm going to take a vacation. And now Drew has lost to both Jay and Jimmy. I was like, how are you losing to the other Uso, man? Yeah, I'm not.
1 week out from the chamber as well.
Oh, man. It's just crazy. Like he has no shot of winning now. I don't believe he's going to win this chamber. No. So I would like him to get to be a corporate champion, though, because they have set the seeds with him and Rock.
That's another match, actually. I think that people aren't really enthused about this idea of Drew and Priest at WrestleMania. And I've said on the WrestleTalk News, like, it's nothing against Damian Priest, because I really like Damian Priest. It just does not feel like the big-time match that I think Drew McIntyre should be having at this year's WrestleMania, considering how what a great 2024 he had. So let's get some final thoughts. Max, final thoughts about the final boss and where we're heading next, or where we could be heading next.
The final boss, The Rock, he loves chaos. He's a hellraiser. He's left us now again, a little under 2 months out from WrestleMania, and everything is basically being ripped up. And it's like, let's go again. Let's write this all out again. Like I said, with his verbiage of, I want your soul, that was a bit much. But my champion, I think we've got a very interesting situation at, I think we're all kind of unanimous, maybe fans online as well, that Cody won't take up this opportunity, this proposal, but someone will, whether it's, a CM Punk, a Roman Reigns, a Drew McIntyre, a John Cena, someone will take up this position, and it will make, the next few months going into Mania for sure very interesting, as well as maybe coming out from Mania, what that's going to look like for that particular person. So yeah, I think Cody's needed something high level as well for his character, and whoever's going to benefit from this, it's going to be an enjoyable ride to watch. So as much as a troublemaker he is, like, here we are again, almost enjoyed it. So yeah.
He's got that magic about him, man. It's like no matter, it is like it's a mess, but a lovely mess to be a part of. SP3, final thoughts from you.
I think wrestling in general is much more fun to talk about when there's this much chaos and when WWE's giving us bad content. I think wrestling is just much better when they're giving us boring, ain't by the numbers, just regular fine content. I don't want to talk about that. When The Rock comes in and messes up WrestleMania, it made WrestleMania build last year fun. It made this show that was objectively the worst WWE TV show in quite some time very enjoyable to talk about with you guys. So thank you, Rock. Thank you.
I was going to say that we didn't even get a chance to talk about that Nia Jax Annihilator, the really lovely, gentle sit down,
the slow motion one.
Watch it. This episode is like Botchamania material. It's like a honeycomb of Botchamanias. The LA Knight stuff with him with his tilt-a-whirl powerbomb, and then Shinsuke Nakamura's interference where he just runs into the ring. Oh my God. And then the pacing when they went video package, backstage promo, commercial. Video package, backstage for commercial. Oh my God. I know every beat to that ad read music that they put on Netflix.
This last chat here actually does tie into one of the other things. From Weasley65 said, I think with all this rock talk, we've missed the bigger picture. The debut of Mello Don't Miz. After the eventual match where Mello beats Miz at Backlash.
I don't know what was worse, that name or the fact that it's quite obvious that LA Knight's being punished for Royal Rumble. Is it just me? Is it just me? Or LA Knight's being punished for the Royal Rumble?
Potentially, you might be right. To be fair,
yeah. You're not a fan of Carmelo Hayes teaming with the Miz, Max?
I mean, it's something for them to do. Melo's above this. Melo is so good, but it keeps him on TV, and it's a win against a world champion when it eventually comes. So let's just buckle in for the ride for now.
Right, I'm just going to quickly end this poll. And absolutely fascinatingly, it is. I'm just going to wait for the poll to come up, but I think it might be. Yeah, it's 50-50. It is literally 50% yes, 50% no.
Well,
that is incredible scenes.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Guys, thank you so much for joining us. Mex, please do plug away. Where can people find you on social media?
Oh, thanks again for having me, Luke, and WrestleTalk team. WrestleManiac UK is where you can find me. Videos, reactions, all of that kind of stuff. Also, Wrestling's YouTube channel and Gorilla Position WWE GP every week for our WWE roundups.
And SP3, what about yourself?
I'll actually be live in like 5 minutes over on the True Hill Heat YouTube channel for our flagship podcast. So come over there, check us out over there. You can see my written work at WrestleTalk.com. And I just want to thank Luke, the WrestleTalk team. I've missed you guys just as much as I've seen the people missing me in the chat. I've missed y'all so much. So anytime y'all need me, I'm here.
Yeah, and now that I've got your new number, I won't have to like panically try and find you on Discord. I mean, like, hey, you're around to do a show today? I texted SP3 this morning. I was like, man, he's not texting me back. That's very unlike him. I know he's in the UK. I know he's going to be around.
I saw it like 30 minutes later, and I was like, I should probably text him on WhatsApp.
Yeah, let me know that your numbers change. Who number, who dis? It's SP3. Guys, thank you so much. It's been awesome having you. And thank you so much for the chat today, for joining us to talk about this. We, tomorrow here on WrestleTalk, it is going to be Ollie and I's review of WrestleMania 28 with The Rock versus John Cena. Once in a lifetime match, where it's a 3.5-hour podcast review. So that's going out, and over at patreon.com/WrestleTalk, there will be our review of Raw 1000 in full, in detail. So head on over to patreon.com/WrestleTalk to get that. And I hope you all enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Jam that jam, everyone. Big thank you to everyone who's joined us today. Have a great one. Ta-ra, everyone. Bye.